Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Islam on the Block. After Salatul Fajr, it's nothing like coming to the office and having a peaceful moment to contemplate. I do this quite a bit. I start off with burning some oud, which is my favorite. But anyway, we're going to start off with trying to change the mindset of the people, the mindset of us. You see, في الزمن الماضي, in past times, we were in a position where we were so desperate that the only thing that was on our mind was survival. So this is actually a very good position to be in terms of trying to bring the best out of yourself. Yani Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings us into this world through toil and struggle, the process of birth. In these days and times, we have been diluted down to an EBT card and Section 8. And there are some people that are misguided into thinking that these things exist to help them. But if you look at just the total concept, if you're on Section 8, you cannot make money. So you have to totally depend on this Section 8. The minute you start making money, they kick you off of Section 8. They don't pay for your housing. And it's called different things in different places. But what it is the government coming in and then paying for you to have a place to live. So you don't have to go to work. But this creates a mindset of laziness. So, yani, an EBT card, for you to go down and get an EBT card, you have to say, I don't have any money. I do not have a job. I do not make over such and such amount of money. I will not make over such and such amount of money. This is a mindset. So inshallah ta'ala, we want to start off with just getting into the brain and understanding the bigger picture just a little bit, so that we don't have to get bogged down with these things, but just a little bit, and understand that there is a bigger picture. When I went to school, back when I went to school, every junior high and high school had trade schools that were within the curriculum of the classroom setting. They had homemaking, where they would teach you how to sew. They had cooking class, where they would teach you how to cook, male or female. We had males and females in the class. They had electronics class. They had auto mechanics class. They had carpentry class. They had painting class. And you can say that in these times, they had more of a genuine concern on teaching people how to survive. But as the world became more greedy and the people on top wanting more, the concept is the only way that you can get more and have more is to keep the majority of the people down. And I have yet to discover whether that is true. Historically, it seems to be true. If you look at nations of past, you had the slaves and the indigenous servants, and then you had those that watched over them, and then you had those who were kings and emperors and things of this nature. Anyway, getting back to the point, the mentality. So now we've come full circle to where they have ingrained in our brains that we have to grow up and go to college and get a good education, and now we're going to get a good job. Well, guess what? There are no more jobs. And they'll become less and less and less. So you have tens of thousands of people with these certificates, which in almost every case taught you absolutely nothing. Unless you went for medical school, some type of engineering, or perhaps law or accounting, you don't actually leave college with the actual skill that on the first day out of college, you can step into a job and have some value to that particular job, that company. You're adding some value from day one. Any other job that you, or education that, or certificate that you try to get, you don't come out with any skill whatsoever. What you come out with is a debt, $60,000 debt with tremendous interest that you'll probably never pay off in your lifetime. $100,000 debt, depending on if you went for your master's. So again, staying on point is about the mindset now. So when we talk about this mindset, we want to look around us and see what's going on today and understand how we're supposed to look at it. Yani, this is so important. It's so critical. And I say it quite often. When you look around, what is the reason that when you go to the swap meet, you see all the Koreans, and this is from coast to coast, they're in the swap meet selling you jeans and t-shirts and socks and underwear. What's the reason? You think the reason because they're stupid and they're beneath you. You're coming to buy socks from them and they're beneath you. Because some of us walk into the swap meet and we have this mentality, I would never sit here and sell socks. The part that we don't understand is that the markup on those socks is probably 300%. And we don't even know what that means. The markup on those socks is probably 300%. So if you learn just the basics of math, what job are you going to go and work on and get 300% of your time? None, unless you're a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. So now we have to begin to look at this and analyze it and see it for what it really is. Every item that they sell you in the swap meet, they are making a tremendous amount of markup on these items. There's no job that they can go to and make that kind of money. So they sell, their children sell, and then their children after them, they will also sell. Now, in the city of Los Angeles, we have mostly the Spanish community. They have fruit carts. So they sell fruit. They chill it, dice it up, maybe put some spices on the fruit. The average cost of a large cup of fruit is $12. I believe the small one is $10 or $9. So then again, we have this mentality. I'm not going to sit here and sell fruit for 6 hours or 8 hours. But in terms of survival, you go to college, you work on a job for $16 an hour. Let's say you get $20 an hour. Let's say you get $25 an hour, $30 an hour. If this person only sells 10 cups within an hour at $12 a piece, he's made $120. $120 an hour. Let's say he averages only $500 a day. So oh, I love this room. So this $500 a day, simple math, every 10 days, right, is $5,000. So every month, this is $15,000. For the most part, this is cash money. So now you have to ask yourself, how many people are actually touching $15,000 every month? And we're talking about something as simple as selling fruit. And for them, it's an act of survival. There's no pride involved in it. But not only that, yani, if you just look at it, the barakah in it is that they're touching $15,000 every single month. And I'll guarantee you, in most cases, it's more than that. So the mentality that we must have in moving forward is, how do we take ourselves from a mindset of thinking that we're too good for something or something's beneath us into a mindset of, where is the profit in any single thing that we do? Where's the profit? How do I make a living? How do I get myself above any level of poverty into a level where I can afford to take care of my family in a good way? I can afford to not have these worries about the future of my family. Because some of us are so far in the background and we feel like we want to be, yani, I don't know, maybe there's some feeling that it's good to be poor. But I always think about the saying of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, when he said, if poverty was a man, then I will kill him. Why? Because poverty and being poor most often makes people think about doing things that they would not ordinarily do. A woman that is hungry and she has a child that is hungry will think that there's probably not a lot that she won't do in order to feed her child. This is the state we want to stay out of, and this is the state that we want to keep our children out of, this state of mind. And trust me, that has to be balanced. It's so important that this is balanced with keeping them out of the state of mind that the world has something for them. They have something coming. They deserve, to be on a certain status. Let me turn this light on now. It's so peaceful here in the morning. Bismillah. Okay. So now again, one of the first things we have to do is we have to consistently think about changing our mindset. And this takes some effort, okay? It takes some real consistent effort. Every single thing that we look at throughout the day, we have to analyze that thing. So we understand that I had relatives and friends that used to own cleaners. Mostly all the cleaners used to be owned by African Americans in the United States. But they began to go out of business. So over the course of years in just looking at it, and then the Spanish community got into the business of cleaning clothes. At one time, it was extremely profitable. So of course, I want to take my clothes to the cleaners and get them cleaned and pressed. So a couple of weeks ago, I went to the cleaners, and I noticed that when I went inside the cleaners, it was almost dark. It was one light on. It was one person sitting in there. So I gave him my clothes, and he said, and I believe it was on a Friday, he said, come back and pick up your clothes on Tuesday. I said, can I get it earlier than Tuesday? He said, no, come back and pick up your clothes on Tuesday. So I left. So as I was driving up the street, right, that work, that hustle in me, I'm just thinking like, okay, because now in Los Angeles, it used to be like 5 cleaners on each street, almost. Long block would be 5 cleaners scattered about. So now as I'm leaving these cleaners, I'm thinking, I'm like, wow, you know. So I'm thinking to myself, he's come up with, and these different cleaners, they've come up with a new business model. And this is, instead of paying employees to sit around and act like they're working all day, pressing clothes and washing clothes, instead of doing that, they spend 3 days collecting clothes. Then they spend 1 day and have a crew come in and wash, iron, press all those clothes and hang them up. Then they spend another 3 days collecting clothes. And then they spend 1 day of paying people to come in, wash, iron, and press these clothes. So they just changed the business model of having people sit around acting like they're working all day and having to pay them to do this into one person, probably the owner. That's a whole nother conversation. Collect clothes all week for people to come in, probably at night, and process and wash and iron those clothes maybe 2 days a week. So this is what I mean when I'm talking about mindset. So we need to get into analyzing every single thing that we see so that we understand whatever business, however we choose to survive, how we're supposed to look at it. It's not about it being a cup of fruit. It's about the amount of profit that we can get from that cup of fruit and where that's going to take us. If we don't want to, we don't have to sell that cup of fruit for the rest of our life. But what we do have to do is take ourselves out of a mindset of there's things that I will not do in order to take myself out of poverty that are simple. They're simple and they're easy and extremely profitable. So inshallah, in the future, we're going to analyze some of these things, and we want to go over the ABCs of making money, the ABCs of hustling, the ABCs of survival, and the mentality that we can get away from EBT cards and Section 8 housing, and we can hustle on our own. We don't need this type of assistance, nor do we want it, because it drags us down. Who wants to admit, or who wants to stay in a position of trying to tell somebody, I don't have a job, I don't have any money, I don't have the means to provide for myself, male or female? And in today's day and time, you can get on the computer and you can make money from this computer, quite a bit of money. But again, it's looking at things and understanding that Although you might see an item that costs $10, it might cost $6. But you have to understand the volume. When I was in Saudi Arabia, subhanAllah, one of the things that amazed me was one of the richest businessmen in Saudi Arabia. What was his most profitable item that he dealt with? And this is Abdul Latif Jameel. So if people have lived in Saudi, they know Abdul Latif Jameel. He has Rolls Royce, he has BMW and Bentley, he has many buildings, he has food items. But I did quite a bit of work for him also. But his most profitable item is candy. Candy that costs maybe 50 halala. Or in some cases, maybe 1 riyal. Little bitty candy. One of the most profitable. Why? Because he sells literally tens and thousands of them every single day in the kingdom. It's change. Small change. 1 riyal is what? A quarter. Not even a quarter. So again, we have to get this mindset and change it and understand it's not about any item being worth $2 or $6 or $8. It's about how much volume can we get out of that, so then it makes sense. We also know that one of the most lucrative businesses in the United States now is the 99-cent store. Why is that? That's because they're paying pennies on the dollar for every single item that's sold in there. You're paying $1 for something that costs pennies. So then the markup becomes 200, 300, 400, 600% on the markup. So, inshallah ta'ala, we can start to analyze these things, and in the future we can move forward and, as I said, making a business plan. And the business plan, we don't want to think of it in terms of academics. We want to think of it in terms of an idea and how to put that idea into practice. Period. It's not about how to spell. It's not about how to write. It's not about how to read a big book. It's about how to put an idea on a piece of paper and how to bring that idea into fruition, how to make it happen. So a business plan in concept, this is what we're gonna do, this is what we mean. So we can get out of thinking that we can't put a business together, we can't run a business. Because on every single level, it's basically the same. It doesn't change. And I don't care how they try to sophisticate it. It's all about a product or a service, being good at what you do, and what is your profit margin. That's all it's about. I don't care what kind of business it is. So inshallah, I want you guys to follow us along. I'm going to bring some brothers in to give us some insight on their businesses and how they started, what their profit margin is, how they think of this, how they conceptualize this. Because like I said, in the beginning, all we have as people are ideas. That's all. And we just have a feeling that we can make this idea work. And for the most part, we haven't put it down on pencil and paper. We haven't put numbers to those thoughts. So this is what we want to do. So like, subscribe, so that we can move forward and help each other, inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.